What's up guys, Matt Laidlaw here, coming to you from Laidlaw's Harley-Davidson, LA area's oldest, largest, and finest Harley-Davidson dealership. So today I'm going to be doing a review and a test ride on the Limited Low. This is a bike that came out in the 2015 model year that helped out the guys that were a little more inseam challenged. And I'm going to be comparing and contrasting this bike to a regular Limited, showing you guys in detail the differences between the two and help you make a good decision on which one of these bikes to buy. Alright guys, so let me jump into this walk around on this 2018 Limited Low. On the bike on the right is a Vivid Black Limited Low. On the left, I've got a 2018 Ultra Limited that I'm going to be kind of comparing and contrasting the two bikes in just a minute. But let me jump into this Black Limited Low to start us off. So like I said already, this bike came out in the 2015 model year, and this bike was introduced kind of as a solution to allow more riders to ride Harley-Davidson's best of the best touring platform, their full dresser, full touring bike, whatever you want to call it. So the Limited Low has definitely enabled a lot more people who maybe weren't tall enough or big enough or strong enough to ride the big dresser, but still wanted all those bells and whistles, the comfort, the storage capacity, the fairing, all the electronics. It has enabled the people that weren't able to ride this bike in the past to ride this bike by a couple of key changes that I'm going to be jumping into right now. So to start us off, here's a shot of the headlamps. So this is basically Harley-Davidson's best of the best lighting system. You've got the front center LED daymaker and the two auxiliary lights, the passing lamps. Here's a shot of the Limited insignia or badging on the side of the front fender. And here's a shot of the front wheel. It's a 17-inch wheel. It's a chrome and black contrast wheel. Here is the water pump. This bike is a twin-cooled model, so water cooling and air cooling both. The lower leg fairings house the radiators. You can kind of see the venting there. So they cannot be used as storage. The right side there is actually where the coolant reserve is. So yeah, and for that reason, you cannot take off these lower leg fairings either. They're a mechanical necessity of the bike. This is a vent here that you can just open and close, pretty simple. Typically speaking, you'll open it up when it gets hotter to allow for more air to pass over the engine. And on those colder days, you'll close it up to keep that cold air off your leg. Here's a shot of the seat. Okay, so this is a key difference, guys. This seat is a lot lower than on the regular Limited. So a lot less padding in the seat, and for that reason, a little bit less comfort as well. So keep that in mind. The back of the seat, the lower lumbar area, is scooted closer too. So this seat will prop you up closer to the fuel tank as well. And that does a couple different things. It allows for you to reach the front fairing a little bit better. And it also sends your legs down at a more straight down trajectory to the ground so you can get flat-footed easier. Here's the second thing, the passenger pegs or passenger floorboards. These are mini floorboards. They've made these smaller. On the regular Limited, you've got more of a larger surface area, half moon style floorboard. What people find if they're on the shorter side for a bike is those floorboards have a tendency to hit the backs of their calves when they're trying to like back up the bike or walk it around. So this alleviates that problem. This windshield is about 2 inches shorter than the regular Limited as well, so you have a shorter windshield on here. They expect people that buy these bikes, once again, don't have the height that a normal Limited rider has, so a little bit shorter rider. The storage capacity in your saddlebags and your tour pack is 100% identical, so you're not making any type of a compromise there. And here's a shot of the rear end once again. They redesigned the tour pack and saddlebags in the 2014 model year, just at FYI. You get the luggage rack on these Limiteds. The regular Ultra Classic, you do not get that luggage rack. Here are some luggage liners for both the saddlebags and the tour pack. So you put your stuff in there and you open your saddlebag and you just kind of carry it out. Like if you're going on a trip or something like that, they come in they come in handy. You also get a headset, communication headset with this bike. This is not the wireless one, guys. This bike does not come with the new 2018 wireless module in the fairing and the wireless headset. So you will have to plug in with this headset. Here's a shot, guys, of the new wireless headset that just came out in the 2018 model year. So a lot of people, when the Rushmore project first came out with these infotainment systems where you can make phone calls and everything, a million people were wondering how to cut the cord on this stuff because not very many people wanted to run a cord. And for that reason, not very many people were getting the full benefit out of this new infotainment system. So here's the module you have to buy. If you have anything later than a 2018 model year, but not older than a 2014 model year, this system will work on your bike. So anything with the 6.5-inch Boom GT Boom Audio infotainment system that came out with the Rushmore project in 2014 model year, you can get this system for. So it's about $300, and it's the wireless headset interface module. This plugs directly into, you got to open up the fairing, it plugs directly into your radio underneath your fairing. So you got to buy that module. The CVOs come with this, by the way. But yeah, anything besides CVOs or anything back until 2014, you have to buy this. So here's a headset that clips onto your helmet. This is the S20 Evo Bluetooth. This is a Sena product, just in case you guys were wondering. Harley-Davidson partnered with them, and they branded it Harley-Davidson. They sell it out of their genuine P&A catalog. So the headset's about $300. So you buy those two, and that will allow you to use your infotainment system with voice commands and phone calls and piping your music into your helmet all wirelessly. So for this bike, it comes with the headset that has a cord on it that you have to plug into the center console, which works great, by the way. I've used it for a long time now, since 2014 with my Street Glide, and I really have no problem with the wire. However, I did this year when I bought my new 2018 Street Glide. I am having that module installed with the 20S wireless headset. So be looking for, I'm going to be doing a new series, a new playlist demonstrating how you use this new headset and how it works and my opinion on it. I'm also going to be going into real detail on how to use the infotainment system, how to do the trip planner, and pretty much everything having to do with the infotainment system. I'm going to be doing tutorial videos on it. So be sure to subscribe to my channel and be looking for that probably starting in the new year, January 2018. I'm going to be releasing probably one video a week on just infotainment system stuff. So I just opened up there. That was the plug for the passenger to plug in their headset. And then once you have a passenger plugged in as well, you guys have the benefit of both the intercom and the communications. Here's a shot of the primary, guys. When this bike was first introduced in 2015, they did something new. They made it have a slimmer primary. The primary cover didn't jut out as far, and that is one more thing to make it so your legs have a straight shot down at the ground to help you be flat-footed more. Now, after that, in the 2016 model year, they put this on all the touring bikes. So in the 2015 model year, that was really the only year where that was really a big difference. Here's another thing, guys. The grips on the Limited Low are a lot narrower. This is like something you'd find like on a Sportster or a Dyna, a little bit narrower grip. And for that reason, guys, and this is a big thing, you do not have heated grips on the Limited Low. The regular Limited, you have heated grips, which is kind of an expensive item. So that's one compromise you do make on the Low, is no heated grips. The other thing is on the bars, guys. The bars are 2 inches closer to the rider on the Limited Low. I'm 6'6" for those of you who don't watch my videos regularly, and for that reason on this bike I can't even turn the handlebars at slow speeds because they hit my knees. So I'll repeat this again later, but I always recommend on this bike, guys, don't buy it unless you absolutely need it. If you are tall enough to ride the regular Limited, get the regular Limited. I cannot stress that enough. Okay, so let me jump into this bike. So the handlebars are higher. Further from the rider on the handlebars, you have the larger diameter grip as well. And on the left-hand side, you have the dial. So the windshield is 2 inches taller, better suited for people's heads that are a little bit higher. So more wind protection for people that are a little bit taller. Here's the dial for the heated hand grips there. You can dial it up, So you do not have this on the limited low. Heated hand grips work real well, by the way, if you've never used them. So here's a shot of the passenger floorboards, bigger surface area, a little bit more comfortable as far as, totally resting all your muscles and resting your legs for your passenger. You can see the seat there as well. You have more cushion in the seat. The seat is propped back further as well. I tried to get a shot, guys, of the overall profile of the bike and how it sat. The front and rear suspension on the limited low is lower. And I don't know if you can tell from the shot or not, but you have less travel in the front and rear suspension on this bike. So that's just one more thing to make the bike lowered, so shorter people can touch easier. And for that reason, guys, and because you have less travel in the suspension, the limited low does not ride as comfortable as the ultra limited. I had a customer that had a limited, and then he bought another bike from me, a limited low, just because he wanted something a little bit lower, easier to handle. And I don't think he quite realized how much he was compromising the ride. He traded the limited low back in, I want to say a year or less later, and got another regular limited. So yeah, my best advice, guys, is if you just cannot touch, maybe you're on your tiptoes on the regular limited, maybe it's just, more bike than you can handle, then by all means get the limited low. It is really well suited for smaller riders. But if you're on the line and you can't really decide which one to get, and you feel like, well, I'll just make life a little bit easier on myself, I'll get the limited low, you're making a mistake. You should get the regular limited because the overall ride comfort will be better. Now, I'm not saying that to trash on the limited low. It definitely has served and will continue to serve a really nice niche within the Harley-Davidson lineup. But just know, with that seat and that lowered suspension, when you're going over those bad bumps on the freeway at high speeds, you're going to feel them more than on a regular limited. So hopefully that helps. And it's always nice to have the heated grips too. In sunny Southern California, you don't need the heated grips as much, but even in the winter on those cold mornings, heated hand grips are a nice thing to have. So as far as the audio system, everything's all 100% identical. You got the 4 speakers, 2 in the front, 2 back by the tour pack. The tour packs on these bikes are not detachable from the factory. I get asked that question almost on a daily basis. You have to purchase Harley-Davidson's detachable kit. The kit is, I want to say, $500 or $600 or something like that, plus labor, and that makes it so the tour pack can come off with those 2 easy quick release latches. Here is the volume controls for the passenger as well. Your volume, the PTT, that's push to talk. So just a recap again, guys. So the limited low, lowered front and rear suspension, smaller passenger floorboards, lowered less cushion in the seat that pushes you forward towards the gas tank more. Handlebars are 2 inches closer to the rider. Windshield is 2 inches shorter. And I think that about covers everything. All right, guys, so here's HarleyDavidson.com. I always like to go here and reference the statistics and available colors and everything from Harley-Davidson's official website. So here's some imagery that they've taken of the bike that looks really nice and really clean, so I thought I'd show that off for a second. This is the olive gold and black tempest two-tone. It's probably my least favorite of all the colors this year, but when it comes to color, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's kind of just a preference thing. I like their tagline, you don't have to be big in stature to ride a machine that's big on touring features. So kind of clever way of saying that this is a bike for guys that are a little bit shorter. You don't have to be a jolly green giant like myself to ride a full dresser anymore. So here are the available colors that Harley-Davidson is painting on this bike in the 2018 model year. The first one's Vivid Black, and the second one is Twisted Cherry. Twisted Cherry is a brand new color this year. I'm a huge fan of it. This is kind of like the Black Cherry that we saw about a decade ago that was really popular among a lot of the different riders. Here's another one of my favorite colors this year. It's called Silver Fortune and Black Tempest. It's a two-tone. I think this is a nice, clean, conservative color, and it's a two-tone. It's not just your average black. I'm kind of resistant to black now because everybody has a black bike. I'm not saying that black's bad, but just everybody has it. This is Silver Fortune and Sumatra Brown. I like this color too. It looks really nice. We have a Road King on the floor right now in this two-tone color. It looks real sharp. Here is the Olive Gold and Black Tempest once again. If you're a green guy, it's decent, I guess, but I'm just not a green guy. And here is a two-tone Wicked Red and Twisted Cherry. So this is both of these red shades are brand new in the 2018 model year. So I like that color. It's pretty nice. And here's a denim paint job for you. Harley-Davidson's been kind of resistant to put denim on these full touring bikes. This is industrial gray and black denim. If I were to buy this bike, I'd probably get it in this denim or that Silver and Black Tempest. So here's a couple other things, just some highlights to highlight a few points on this bike. Lowered front and rear suspension. Here's something I left off, guys, and I don't know how I left this off, but I did. I knew I was missing something. There is the extended reach side stand, so the extended reach kickstand. So there's like a little bar coming off of the kickstand that allows you to grab it with your toe to bring it up, so you don't have to have as long of legs to reach out there and grab the kickstand. So yeah, that's a difference between the regular Limited as well. So you got here 26.5 inches off the ground. I already mentioned this, but it's a smaller diameter grip. Allows you to grab the brake and the clutch with more force, more usable surface area of your hand with a smaller diameter grip. A couple other things that I've already gone over. You've got the ABS standard on this bike with Brembo brakes. Here's some basic stats. Twin-cooled Milwaukee 8, 114 foot-pounds of torque. That's at the crank. So here's some pricing for you guys, as everybody always asks me how much these things cost. So Vivid Black, the color I'm using in this video, is $26,899. And as you add a color, you increase that by about $500. Security is standard. Cruise control is standard on all touring bikes now. And ABS is standard, like I already said. This is a 107 cubic inch build. Compression ratio is 10-1. A lot of people ask me, can you get the bike in a 114 this year? No, the only bikes that are offered in a 114 option are a few of the new Softails. Will they do it in the future? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know, but you can't get a bike with a 114 from the factory this year. You can get the stage 3 or 4 upgrade, though, that will bump up the displacement to a 114. So wheel size, 17-inch wheel in the front, 16-inch in the rear. 180 millimeter tire in the rear. That's been the same since 2009. 6-gallon fuel tank. That's been the same since 2008. No change there. So the running order weight with all the fluids and everything is 908 pounds for this beast. And I will say, with the lowered suspension and seat height and everything, that weight is lower slung, so it's easier to manage as well. Torque, 114 foot-pounds of torque at 3,250 RPM. That's at the crank. So actual torque at the rear wheel, you're probably looking at about 105, 106. And these come in at 80 horsepower. Harley-Davidson does not publish horsepower. They publish it in the Screaming Eagle catalog, but I'm not going to go to the Screaming Eagle catalog, so I'll just write it on here. It's got 80 horsepower at the rear wheel. So at the crank, it's probably about 88 to 90 horsepower or something like that. And you're going to get about 43 miles to the gallon fuel economy, and that's both combination on-road and freeway traveling. So moving on, you've got the Limited, comes with the 6.5 Boom Audio GT system. On the regular Ultra Classic, you can get it with either the smaller 5.3 or the 6.5 with an upcharge of $795 if you want the bigger 6.5 inch screen. And that's about it, guys. Alright guys, so I'm going to start off with just some general information about who I'd recommend a bike like this to. So the Limited is pretty much Harley-Davidson's ultimate touring bike, and it pretty much sets the benchmark for any other touring bike in the world. So you've got the full Batwing fairing as opposed to the Shark Nose fairing. There is a bike called the Road Glide Ultra, which is very comparable to this bike in what it offers in the way of performance and storage space and comfort. But this bike has the Batwing fairing, and you have a little bit taller windshield than, say, like a Street Glide, and so you have a little bit better wind deflection. This bike has the most storage capacity available on it to any Harley-Davidson, with the exception of the Tri-Glide. But any two-wheeled motorcycle Harley-Davidson has, this bike has the most storage space you can get in a bike. As far as bells and whistles, this is pretty much top of the line with the exception of the CVO line. The CVO is the custom vehicle operation, which you're now at a $40,000 price tag, and you got a bigger 117-inch engine, and you just have a lot more stuff, more parts and accessory stuff that is considered a higher grade, higher premium nature to it. A lot of it cosmetic, but there's also functional things like the satellite receiver, the wireless headset and receiver that I talked about earlier, more chrome on the bike, stuff like that. So without the CVO bikes considered, this is pretty much your top of the line, this and the regular Limited, this being the Limited Low. So if you're a guy that gets out on the road, you do overnighters, you're going to hit up the hotels or the campsites or whatever it may be, this is a great bike to take out on the road. Good wind protection and great ride comfort as well. You got a hydraulic clutch on this bike as well. All Harleys with the Batwing fairing on them since 2014 have all had the hydraulic clutches. 6-gallon fuel tank like I already went over, so good fuel capacity as well. And so yeah, I've taken these bikes on longer trips, and they're real comfortable. So I'm gonna kind of delve into what makes the Limited Low a little bit more unique as well. And I've already touched on some of these things, but I'll just kind of reiterate. And I've ridden this bike before, so this is not my first time riding a Limited Low, but re-riding it just kind of refreshes some things in my head, so I can, regurgitate this information a little bit clearer to you guys. So like I've said before, and this is a big point that I like to bring up because this is a big question that people ask a lot. The overall ride comfort on the Limited Low is very good. It's definitely better than most any other bike that Harley-Davidson makes, but the overall ride comfort is not as good as a regular Ultra Limited, and that is because you don't have as much travel in the shocks. Anytime you take away travel in the suspension, I don't care how you do it or what technology you put in there with it, you're going to make the ride stiffer. It's kind of like the old saying with performance guys, there's no substitute to displacement when you're creating power in an engine. Well, the same thing can be said with suspension. There's no substitute to travel in the suspension. So you're taking away suspension travel on this Limited Low for the benefit of it being close to the ground and shorter riders being able to touch the ground a little bit better. The number one question I get on this bike is probably people wondering, okay, at what point or what height should I consider getting a Limited Low as opposed to regular Limited? And everyone's a little bit different, and everyone's a little bit different as far as your strength as well. And I think your size, your weight, and your strength plays a big part as well. But I personally would think that if you're about 5'8", 5'9", or shorter, you should probably consider a Limited Low. And you're probably okay down to, I don't know, like 5'4", 5'5", or something like that on a Limited Low with a nice boot. But yeah, you also got to play into account your size and your strength as well. I've seen guys that are 5'10", 5'11", but they're 160, 170, 180 pounds, and they just feel like their strength is better suited towards a Limited Low. So not only is your height a factor, I would also kind of think about your strength as well. Some of the older guys too that maybe aren't as strong as they used to be, might want to go towards a Limited as well. But if you're kind of on the edge, Another thing too is, guys, is go into a Harley shop and sit on one. Preferably Laidlaw's Harley Davidson, but go on into a shop and sit on one and just feel for yourself how easy it is to pick it up off the side stand and go for a test ride and stuff like that, and that will kind of tell you a lot. But if you're perfectly capable of handling a regular limited, just know that especially if you plan on riding with a passenger quite a bit, know that you and your passenger will be more comfortable on a regular limited. But I've had guys that have been trying to lower regular limiteds for years, or buying the ultra classics and trying to lower them and shave the seat and do all kinds of stuff that just costs a ton of money to do, and only to make the bike just a little bit lower. And now you don't have to do that anymore. So I've seen guys who for years have struggled to get on the full dresser Harley Davidsons, because that's the type of riding they do. They do longer distance stuff, or they want to be comfortable, they want to ride a passenger on the back, and they can't touch, or they're just on their tiptoes and they can't get the balls of their feet or their heels down on the ground. So they just end up turning their bike into this hodgepodge of custom parts and stuff, and spending thousands of dollars. Well, you don't have to do that anymore. So I've seen plenty of guys buy these bikes and been extremely happy with them, that Harley Davidson finally came out with a solution to their problem. So definitely kudos to them. I will say be careful though, because if you're too tall, if I would say like 6 feet or taller, you probably want to avoid this bike. For me personally, I had a hard time riding this bike this day, because I had to mentally prepare myself for a turn to flare my knees out of the sides, because if I didn't, I would tag my knees with the handlebars and I wouldn't be able to complete the turn on this thing. So the handlebars are lower and 2 inches closer to you. And I'll say too, you can kind of see right there in that shot, there's like a little block on the bottom of the floorboard. My hand's kind of covering it now, but that feeler block there is there because the floorboards are you don't have the lean angle on this bike that you have on the regular limited. So you're going to be scraping a lot sooner on this bike as well. So you're giving up, you're sacrificing some of the lean angle on this touring chassis bike as well. Which the lean angle is pretty dang good on these touring bikes. They increased it in 2009 when they improved the frame that year, but you're losing a decent margin of lean angle with this limited low. So be prepared to scrape if you're someone that really likes to move fast through the turns. So as I just showed you guys, you can lock both the saddlebags and the tour pack. You got to do that with the key. Some of the models, the CVOs, you can do it from the dash. And then you also need to unlock the front fob, which I forgot to do. It's kind of nice on the new Softails, the keyless, and even the CVOs. You don't have to unlock that fob there. You just basically have the fob within range and hit the run switch and it fires the ignition. So that's kind of nice. The tour pack is really good storage. The more I ride the Harleys and the more I look at other models like Honda and Indian and stuff, I realize just how good the storage on a Harley really is. I recently checked out the new Honda Goldwing that just came out, and the storage capacity is terrible on those bikes. I mean, you can't even fit 2 helmets in the tour pack, or the rear trunk, as they call it. On these limiteds, you can fit 2 full-size helmets in the rear tour pack in the back. So the storage space really is good, and it's very usable, and the dimensions of the tour pack and the saddlebags are all symmetrical. You don't have these weird like cutouts within the bags to accommodate like engine components, other components underneath the bike. So the storage is really clean and really nice on these Harley Davidsons. So a couple other things, you got ABS brakes standard on this bike. In 2014 they came out with what's called the Reflex ABS braking system, where it basically will equalize the braking pressure in the front and rear brakes. What Harley Davidson found after a lot of research was that people are either a heavy front braker or a heavy rear braker. So if you're braking too much rear brake and not enough front brake, you'll actually feel the front brake apply a little bit more pressure out of proportion to how much you're squeezing the front brake, to kind of equalize the braking and make it so the vehicle is braking the way it should brake. Alright, so I'm going to jump up on the freeway here. So here's a nice sweeping turn, and I was definitely trying not to scrape here. And once again, this thing does not have a very good lean angle. So if you're looking for a bike to ride real fast through the twisties, this probably is not the best bike in the world to do that. I mean, they handle good, and I will say the frame too on these bikes handles this weight very, very well. I'm always, hearing all these stories from people about how surprised they are at how well these bikes handle at slow speeds. And once you really get used to the bike with a little bit of good technique and muscle memory, these really heavy cruisers can otherwise be pretty dang light. So here I am up on the freeway, and this is a terrible freeway, so it really puts the suspension to the test. The bike's pretty dang good. I gotta say, even with being a limited low, the bike's a very comfortable bike. Wind deflection is extremely good. I had very little headwind, even with the shorter windshield. Even though this is shorter, it's definitely taller than the windshield on my Street Glide, which on my Street Glide I get a lot of headwind. But these bikes, they create this little rider bubble. The vented fairings that came out in the 2014 model year really do the trick with reducing any head buffeting that you'd get at higher speeds. Here I'm doing like 65, 70, and so very little wind buffeting out on the road on these bikes. And yeah, just a really good touring bike. So pros and cons, if I could kind of run down the list of pros and cons on this thing. Cons, I would say bad lean angle, and I don't know if you can say this is a con, because the ride comfort's really good when all motorcycles are considered, but you do make a compromise and a little bit of a sacrifice from the regular limited. So a little bit of a sacrifice in the suspension travel, I'll say, and really not a good bike for tall guys. And I don't know why a tall guy would ever buy a bike like this. Again, if I haven't gotten this point across, if you are 6 foot or above, you really should not buy this bike. Just the handlebars and the positioning in the seat is awful for someone who's tall as well. I was just the ergonomics on this bike for me, and again, I'm 6 foot 6 inches. The ergonomics on this bike were absolutely terrible for me this day. But I've had a lot of guys that are shorter that the bike is more appropriately set up for. They absolutely love it, and it works great. So that's not a con. That's just putting the wrong size person on this bike. But the pros are great storage capacity on this bike. I mean, it's industry leading storage capacity and usable storage space. It's one thing to just have a measurement of cubic inches of storage space, but it's a whole other thing to actually have that storage space with good dimensions that are actually usable. So yeah, great storage space on the bike. The electronics are really good. And again, guys, be looking for my future videos to go over the electronics in detail. This thing, just to kind of give you an overview, you've got Bluetooth capabilities, so you can stream your music off of your phone. Once your phone is Bluetooth as well, you can take incoming calls on here that will require you to put the headset on your helmet and plug it into the dash there. Either that or get that wireless headset that I showed you earlier. Here I am cycling through the menu a little bit. You've got an intercom system on this bike that is just exclusively used for communicating between you and your passenger. If you and your significant other like to get out on the road on the bike together, a limited or a Road Glide Ultra or just a regular Ultra Classic, they're like mandatory bikes if you do that type of riding a lot. I think a lot of people that should be buying the Electra Glides don't, and they buy the Road Glide or the Street Glide when really they should be buying the Electra Glide. If you're someone that gets on the road and rides with a passenger quite a bit and you like the communication stuff, get the limited. Don't be afraid to put on your grandpa hat a little bit and get this bike. Too many people get worried about the big tour pack in the rear and looking too much like a Nomad, I think, and hesitate to get this bike. If you're worried about that, get the bike and put the detachable tour pack on there. You'll be happier with the ride comfort, and you'll just be happy with just the cost efficiency of getting all this equipment on the bike right from the get-go. I mean, for lights, for example, I've bought 2 street glides now, and the first thing I do is change out all the lights. Well, that's $1,000 in just lighting equipment right there that I blow on a street glide. This bike, you have all the lights right out of the gate. So, I've seen too many guys come in with their wives, and their wives, want the cool bike, and the styling is good on these bikes. Don't get me wrong, but there's only so many ways you can make a full dresser motorcycle look sleek and stylish, and the styling, in my opinion, and obviously I'm biased, is a lot better looking than any other full touring bike out there. But it is still a full bagger, and the comfort of that backrest for the passenger is extremely good as well. So hopefully I helped you guys out. If you have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments below. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like the video if I helped you out at all, and subscribe as well, and be checking out my future videos. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.